Welcome to my channel. Today's story is one that began on the edge of the known universe, where human curiosity met alien beauty in the most unexpected way. He was a human engineer named Elias, stationed on the research station Sirius 9, a quiet outpost orbiting a crimson-glowing world. The station had been assigned to study the Volari, a race of tall, luminous-skinned sisters known for their strength and perfect grace. No one had ever seen them up close until the day they saved Elias from a collapsing reactor. When he opened his eyes after the explosion, the first thing he saw were their eyes, liquid silver, glowing softly under the medbay light, and their hands pressed against his chest, steady and impossibly firm. Every touch seemed to hum with restrained power, and for the first time in his life, Elias felt something far beyond fear or awe. Days passed, and curiosity turned into fascination. The Volari sisters moved through the station like living storms, calm on the surface but carrying the raw energy of their world within. Elias found himself drawn to Lyra, the eldest. Her voice was low and melodic, and when she spoke, her words carried a strange warmth that slipped under his skin. They began working together to stabilize the damaged power systems. Every time their hands brushed, a current of energy raced through him. He tried to laugh it off, but her gaze always lingered, unblinking, studying him as if she saw through bone and thought alike. The other crew whispered that humans could never withstand a Volari's closeness, that their strength alone could break steel. But Elias could not stay away. One evening, while recalibrating the core chamber, the artificial gravity faltered and sent them both floating. Lyra caught him mid-air, her arms around his body, holding him against her with effortless control. Their faces hovered inches apart, the glow from her veins lighting his skin. She whispered that humans were fragile things, but her voice trembled for the first time. Elias touched her hand and said softly, "Maybe that's why you hold on so tight." Her lips parted as if to answer, but no sound came. That silence became their first shared secret. As the days turned into nights, the mystery deepened. The younger sister, Nara, began watching them, curious, jealous, perhaps protective. The Volari bond was something sacred, something humans were never meant to touch. Yet Elias's presence seemed to change them. Their once unshakable composure faltered, their voices softened. When he brushed against Nara's arm one day, even she froze as if her body remembered something ancient. Every interaction became heavier, filled with a strange tension neither human nor alien could name. It was more than attraction. It was discovery. Two species testing the limits of sensation and emotion. But peace on Sirius 9 was fragile. The Galactic Council soon learned of the bond forming between the human and the Volari sisters. To them, it was blasphemy. Orders came to transfer Elias back to Earth immediately. The night before his departure, Lyra found him watching the stars. She pressed her palm against his chest once more, her voice breaking as she said, "Our strength was never in our flesh, Elias. It was in what we never let ourselves feel, until you." Her touch trembled, but her resolve didn't. Nara stood behind her, silent, her eyes shimmering like starlight on water. Then, for the first time, both sisters embraced him. The air around them pulsed, and Elias felt something shift inside him, something human yet far beyond it. When morning came, the shuttle waited. Elias looked back once before the doors closed, seeing the two luminous figures standing together, unbroken and yet changed. The whispers that spread later called it forbidden love, but to Elias, it was something simpler. The moment humanity reached out to the impossible and found warmth instead of war. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more tales that blur the line between humanity and the stars. Part 2 begins as the quiet hum of Sirius 9 returns after the reactor repairs, but Elias can't shake the memory of Lyra's touch. Every time he closes his eyes, he feels that same invisible current run through him. A warmth that isn't human, a pulse that doesn't fade. He tells himself it's curiosity, just fascination with alien biology. But when Lyra passes him in the corridor, her presence floods the space like gravity itself. Even her footsteps sound like heartbeats. One night, He finds her alone in the hydroponic bay, surrounded by light from the glowing vines the Valari brought from their homeworld. Her skin reflects their soft gold hue, and for a moment, he forgets what air is. She looks up, her voice quiet but firm, asking if humans always stare when they can't understand something. Elias laughs nervously, but she smiles faintly and says, "Good, then you understand more than most." That's when he realizes the Valari aren't cold. They're careful. Every emotion is restrained behind layers of control, and somehow, he is unraveling that control piece by piece. The next day, the younger sister, Nara, corners Elias in the engineering bay. Her tone is sharp, almost protective. "You don't know what she's doing," she warns. "Our kind doesn't feel the way you think." But Elias only nods, replying, "Maybe she doesn't. Maybe I do enough for both of us." That answer leaves Nara stunned, her gaze flickering between anger and confusion. Later, when Lyra returns, there's tension between them, a silent storm building under calm expressions. Still, when Elias hands her the calibration tool, their fingers brush again, and that same hum fills the air. This time, neither moves away. Lyra leans closer, her breath warm against his cheek, and says softly, "When I touch you, my control falters. That should frighten you." Elias's voice drops to a whisper. "Then maybe I'm the first thing you shouldn't control." That night, the station's artificial dusk settles. Through the viewport, the red planet glows beneath them like an ember. Elias sits alone, thinking about what she said, when the door opens without a sound. Lyra steps in, her glow dimmer than usual. She walks closer and stops just within reach. For a long moment, neither speaks. Then she takes his hand and places it over her pulse point. "The Valari body is strong," she murmurs. "But it breaks easily when the heart forgets its rhythm." He feels it then, her heartbeat, fast and uneven beneath his fingers. Something ancient stirs between them, the pull of two species divided by stars, but united by the oldest language in the universe. Touch. When she finally steps back, her eyes are no longer calm. They're alive, uncertain, human in ways that shouldn't be possible. "Tomorrow," she says, "the council will know what we've done." Her words hang in the air like gravity itself. Elias stands, takes her hand again, and answers, "Then let's give them something worth fearing." The lights flicker once, and for that heartbeat, the galaxy outside seems to hold its breath. The following morning begins with silence that feels heavier than the ship's gravity. Elias wakes to the soft hum of the ventilation system and the distant echo of voices, Valari voices, speaking in their ancient melodic language. He knows they're talking about him. As he steps into the corridor, the light has changed, tinted faint blue instead of gold. The entire station seems to be holding its breath. When he reaches the main observation deck, Lyra and Nara are already there, standing side by side like twin flames. Lyra's expression is unreadable, but Nara's eyes burn with defiance. "The council knows," Lyra says quietly. "They ordered us to separate. They think our bond threatens balance." Elias laughs softly, not because it's funny, but because it's absurd, how something so pure could be seen as dangerous. "Then they've never felt what we did," he replies. Lyra's gaze softens for a heartbeat, but behind her calm is fear, something she's never allowed herself to show before. Later, in the engineering bay, Elias tries to focus on his tasks, but his thoughts won't settle. Every sound feels louder, the hiss of the coolant lines, the buzz of the reactor, the whisper of footsteps behind him. When he turns, Nara is there again. She looks at him differently this time. Less anger, more confusion, as if she's searching for something she can't define. "Lyra is losing her control," Nara says. "You've done something no human was ever meant to do. You've changed her rhythm." Elias wipes the sweat from his forehead, his tone calm but certain. "Maybe it's time someone did." Nara studies him, her breath uneven, and before she can stop herself, she reaches out, her fingers brushing his wrist. The contact is electric, her touch sharper than Lyra's, colder, more curious than tender. The energy between them hums like the ship's core, and when she pulls away, her voice is barely a whisper. You're dangerous. Elias smiles faintly. Or human. That night, Lyra finds him again in the hydroponic bay. The vines glow softly around them, bathing the room in shifting light. Nara told me you spoke, she says. Elias nods. She's afraid of losing you. Lyra shakes her head slowly. No, she's afraid of losing what we are. The Valari were taught that love makes us weak, that our bodies are firm so our hearts cannot bend. But you've made me feel everything bend at once. She steps closer, close enough that he can feel her breath on his skin. If the council comes for you, she whispers, they'll take me too. Elias's hand finds hers instinctively, their fingers intertwining, human warmth meeting alien strength. Then they'll learn, he says, that not everything can be broken. Outside, alarms begin to echo faintly through the corridors. Warnings of a ship entering orbit. The council has arrived sooner than expected. Lyra looks toward the sound, her silver eyes reflecting the glow of the emergency lights. It's begun, she murmurs. Elias turns to face her, his heart pounding. Then let's not run. The vines flicker brighter for a moment, as if the entire station can feel the storm about to fall. The universe seems to tighten around them, and for the first time, Lyra's lips tremble with something more than restraint. It's fear, and something dangerously close to love. The council's ship loomed outside the viewport like a floating cathedral of judgment, its dark metallic hull gleaming beneath the planet's red glow. Seraphis 9 shuddered as tractor beams locked on, wrapping the small station in invisible chains of authority. Inside, silence spread through the halls, crew members frozen, lights dimming to warning amber. Elias stood near the observation deck with Lyra and Nara, watching the approaching vessel. They'll take you first, Lyra whispered, her voice trembling like she was learning fear for the first time. Elias turned to her, his expression steady. Then they'll know what it means to take something I've chosen. Nara stepped forward, her silver eyes burning bright. You don't understand, she said, her voice sharp. They won't just arrest you, they'll erase you from existence. To them, this is contamination. Elias met her gaze, calm and unflinching. Then they've already lost, because you can't erase what's already changed. Moments later, the airlock doors hissed open. Council enforcers, tall figures in silver armor, marched through the corridor. Their helmets reflected the soft glow of the station lights, and their voices came through like thunder underwater. Human Elias Reed, one of them declared, you are to be detained for violation of interspecies protocols. Lyra stepped forward instantly, standing between him and the soldiers. He's under my protection, she said. The soldiers hesitated. Valari were not easily opposed, not even by the council. The lead enforcer tilted his head slightly, voice colder now. You defy the High Accord? Lyra's hands began to glow faintly, light tracing the lines of her veins. I defy blindness, she said. The silence that followed felt like gravity collapsing inward. Nara's jaw tightened as she moved to her sister's side. Then we defy it together. Elias could feel the tension rise, the hum of power building around the sisters, the faint vibration in the floor as energy rippled through the station. The council ship outside adjusted position, and the intercom crackled with static before a deep voice filled the air. Valari units Lyra and Nara. Stand down or be purged. Lyra turned toward Elias, her eyes shimmering with that same strange mix of power and tenderness. We were made to be unbreakable, she said softly. But you taught us that breaking is how light escapes. Then she pressed her forehead against his for a fleeting moment, a gesture of her people's deepest vow. Nara reached out and activated the emergency seals, locking the chamber doors. The enforcers pounded from the other side, metal shrieking, but the sisters stood still, glowing brighter by the second. The floor began to quake. The vines from the hydroponic bay slithered through cracks in the walls, drawn by the Valari energy. They shimmered, pulsing with life as if the planet below was responding to its daughters. Elias took a step back, shielding his eyes from the growing light. Lyra's voice rang out, clear and steady. If the council fears love, then let them feel it burn. With that, a wave of light exploded from the sisters, blinding, pure, and impossibly warm. The armored soldiers fell to their knees, systems shorting, their voices lost to the roaring hum of Valari resonance. When the light faded, the chamber was quiet. The enforcers were gone, either fled or consumed by the energy. Lyra stood trembling, her glow dimmed, her breathing ragged. Nara knelt beside her, tears of silver streaking her cheeks. Elias stepped closer, placing his hand on Lyra's shoulder. Her skin was cool, softer now, almost fragile. "You broke the unbreakable," he said softly. Lyra managed a faint smile. "No, Elias," she whispered. "You did." Outside, the council ship drifted in silence, systems disabled, its engines flickering weakly like dying stars. Inside, the bond that began with a single touch had rewritten everything. And yet, beneath the calm, Elias knew it wasn't over. The council would return. But so would the truth that strength was never the absence of feeling, but the courage to let it exist. Lyra leaned against him, her heartbeat steady once more, and for the first time, the station felt alive. Not as a machine, but as something breathing, defiant, and full of light. The aftermath of the explosion left Seraphis, 9 suspended in uneasy quiet, drifting between stars like a wounded heart. Systems flickered and hummed weakly, lights dimmed to a pulse that matched the rhythm of Lyra's fading glow. Elias carried her to the medbay, his arms trembling, not from the weight, but from the fear that she might not open her eyes again. Nara followed close behind, silent, her expression unreadable. Once inside, Elias laid Lyra gently on the diagnostic table, watching as her skin's silver light pulsed faintly beneath the translucent surface. "She's stabilizing," Nara whispered, her voice breaking for the first time. But the energy she released, it wasn't meant to be contained. "It's burning her from within." Elias clenched his fists. "Then help me save her," he said. Nara's eyes flashed with pain. "You don't understand." Her heart linked to yours during the surge. "You're the reason she's still alive. And the reason she's dying." Hours passed, but Elias refused to leave her side. The station creaked under the stress of partial power, the view outside a tapestry of shattered starlight and drifting debris from the council ship. He spoke softly to Lyra, words barely audible. "You once told me your people were made unbreakable so you'd never feel loss. Maybe that's why you needed me. To remind you what it means to survive it." Her hand twitched faintly, her glow flickering in rhythm with his heartbeat. The monitors synchronized for a brief second, his human pulse blending perfectly with her alien frequency. Nara watched from across the room, her usual composure fractured by something raw. "If she dies," she murmured, "the bond will kill you too." Elias turned toward her, his eyes burning with quiet resolve. "Then I'll go where she goes." But fate had other plans. The comm system crackled to life suddenly, an incoming transmission from what remained of the council fleet. "This is Admiral Koresh," the voice boomed. "By order of the High Council, Seraphis 9 is to be destroyed. You have 1 rotation to evacuate." The transmission ended in static. Nara's face hardened. "They won't risk another defiance. They'll burn everything." Elias looked down at Lyra, his voice a whisper. "Then we burn brighter." He moved to the console, his fingers racing across the interface. "The power cores are unstable, but if we channel them through the reactor vent, we can create a pulse, just enough to disable their fleet again." Nara stared at him. "That would kill you both." Elias looked back, eyes steady. "Maybe, but it'll buy time for the others to escape. And maybe it'll show them what love really costs." Lyra stirred then, her lips parting as she whispered something in her native tongue. Soft, melodic, aching. Nara stepped closer, tears glistening. She said, "She feels your heartbeat. She wants to see the stars one more time." Elias lifted her gently, carrying her toward the viewport. The red planet below shimmered beneath its thin atmosphere, and the distant stars reflected in her silver eyes as they opened weakly. "It's beautiful," she whispered, her voice barely a breath. "So fragile, so alive." Elias smiled faintly. "Just like us." She reached up, her hand resting against his cheek, her touch warm again, steady, full of light. "If we die," she said, "let it be holding the universe, not hiding from it." And for that brief moment, surrounded by silence and stars, two beings from different worlds understood something the Council never could: that love wasn't weakness. It was the most dangerous strength in existence. As the reactor alarms began to rise again, Elias placed her hand over the console, her energy merging with his code. The screens flared to life in a cascade of gold and white. Nara backed away, watching as the two glowed together, their heartbeats perfectly synchronized, their power blooming like dawn through the darkness. Outside, the Council fleet began to turn, unaware that the light about to rise from Seraphis 9 wasn't a weapon. It was a message written in love, sacrifice, and the unstoppable pulse of humanity intertwined with the unbreakable will of the stars. The light from the reactor chamber bled through every wall of Seraphis 9, painting the corridors in gold and white. Elias could feel the vibration beneath his feet, a living heartbeat that no machine had ever made before. Lyra's fingers were still intertwined with his, her pulse steady now, flowing into his veins like starlight turned to warmth. "It's working," he said softly, though his voice trembled. She smiled faintly, her silver eyes dimming as the light grew around them. "Then we are one now," she whispered. "Human and Valari, weak and strong, flesh and light." Nara stood a few feet away, her hands pressed against the glass wall separating her from them, tears streaking down her glowing cheeks. "You can still stop this," she cried. "You can still live." Elias turned toward her, shaking his head slowly. "No, this is life, Nara. Right here. This is what your people forgot." Outside, the Council fleet began to fire. Bright lances of plasma tore across the dark, searing through space toward the tiny station. But the moment the first blast struck the outer hull, the light from Seraphis 9 flared, pure, white, and endless. It wasn't fire. It wasn't destruction. It was energy born from something deeper than any weapon. Unity. The shockwave rolled outward, silent and blinding, and every ship that touched it froze in orbit. Their engines died, their systems flickered, and within seconds the battlefield fell still. The Council ships floated motionless, surrounded by a halo of shimmering radiance. The same pulse that once hummed between Elias and Lyra now reached across the void, synchronizing with everything it touched. For the first time in history, alien and human heartbeats aligned. Nara shielded her eyes as the brilliance faded. When the light finally dimmed, Seraphis 9 was no longer burning. The station hovered quietly, wrapped in a soft aura that pulsed like the breath of a sleeping giant. She ran to the control deck, desperate, calling out their names. The med monitors showed faint readings, 2 pulses, 1 rhythm perfectly merged. She pressed her forehead against the console and whispered, "Sister, Elias, you did it." Then she looked out at the silent fleet, now powerless but alive, their weapons dead, their crews awestruck. The Council itself, orbiting far beyond, could only watch as their armada was undone by something they never believed in: connection. Hours passed before the silence broke. A message began to broadcast from Seraphis 9, repeating through the void in every known language. It was Lyra's voice, soft and calm. "To those who fear love, know this: strength does not live in armor or command. It lives in the hands that tremble, in the hearts that refuse to harden. We are not unbreakable. We are alive." Across the galaxy, the message spread like a flame through dry air. Entire worlds paused. For the first time, the word human meant something more than fragile. It meant fearless. Nara stayed on the station for many rotations after that day, tending to what remained of the reactor, keeping the lights alive. She often sat by the viewport, where the stars seemed closer, and whispered stories of her sister and the human who changed their fate. Some nights, when the station grew quiet, she swore she could still hear them, the soft laughter of Lyra, the low hum of Elias's voice, woven into the pulse of the core. The galaxy would one day call it the event of unbreakable light. But to Nara, it was something simpler. Proof that love could bend steel, silence war, and turn fear into light. Thank you for listening to this story. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more romantic sci-fi tales where love defies the stars and humanity always finds a way to shine.